What's up everybody, and thank you for joining me for another video. My name is Whack4863, but you can call me Whack. In today's video, I wanted to show you two dungeons that I run on at least a daily basis, a lot of times multiple times a day. One of them is going to be down here at the waypoint Ruins of Rakhat Keep. This is the inner court, and it's going to be the Iron Hold right over here. The nice thing about both of these dungeons that I run is the fact that they are both very close to teleporters. Now, this particular dungeon you can run absolutely no problem. The other dungeon that I run, I can only run because I haven't finished this side mission. So let me pull it back up on the map. If we scroll up here and we look at the Bear Tribe Refuge, I still have this side mission, Call of the Ancients. That opens this dungeon, the Hollowed Glacier, to be able to run. Now, the reason why you want to run both of these dungeons is because of the sheer amount of elites that can spawn in these dungeons. Neither one of these can be nightmare dungeons, so you're not going to gain extra experience or anything like that, but the amount of elites that you're going to face in these dungeons is a huge amount. This particular dungeon can have up to 3 full rooms of the elites, and it's nothing but elites for the most part. So an absolute ton of loot can be got in these dungeons. So what you want to do is head through this section of the dungeon. The first section doesn't matter as much because you're only going to run into maybe 1 or 2 elites. Like I just ran past a couple of elites there, so we'll clear them out. But this section of the dungeon, what you're looking for is a key. And that key is going to take you to the second section of the dungeon. Now, I highly recommend getting all the loot that you can. And it looks like that key is going to be this direction instead of the direction I was headed. There it is. It is held by this guy right there. Usually I'm able to one-shot him, but for whatever reason, didn't want to do that for me. There we go. So once you can clear all these guys out if you want. You can run past them, grab the loot. However you want to run through this dungeon, you can run through this dungeon. I find it most proficient just to run through this first section because there isn't a lot of really good loot to be had in that first section. I have run into the Butcher in here as well, so that's a fun time when you run into him. But this is definitely a dungeon that I recommend running through on a regular basis for a ton of loot. Like I said, I do it at least once a day. A lot of times I do it when I'm not doing anything else. I'll just run down to this dungeon and run through it. It's really, really quick, and it has the potential to give a lot of loot. So here's the first room. Now, these rooms do move around. You're not always going to find the elites in the exact same room, but there's the first room of loot right there. You can see there is quite a few sacreds, but if you're just going to sell this stuff, it's not that big of a deal. So I'll just pick up all the yellows there, take a quick peek at the map to figure out which setup we got here. Grab that, and looks like off to the right maybe. Sometimes that shrine is an event as well, so it's up to you if you want to do that event or not. But you want to get back to the back area here, and we're just going to pick this up. We'll be fine. Pick that up, and you can see where we're at on the map. So it does move from corner to corner sometimes, but really easy to get through this particular dungeon. Once you run it a couple of times, you'll know exactly where you're going, what you're doing, and it won't be a big deal. Hopefully we get a second elite room in here. There we go, we do. And we'll just bring them. Okay, we could just stand right here. How's that? How about you guys just stand right there? We'll just bring all these guys over. We did get a legendary there. That's cool. Do we have anything else? No? Okay. Just a couple random little mobs here. And then we're just going to pick all of that up. I grabbed the blue there, but what's it matter? And then we have a little key here. I'm going to grab that. And at this point, you could explore any more of the dungeon that may have not been opened. But really you want to just do this quick. You want to be in, out, grab all the loot, and be done with it. That way you can move on to something that's going to give you more loot. So we'll come in here, we'll just one-shot that guy, see if he drops anything. He did. And then you can teleport back to town and sell all your loot. You can see I've got half a stash full of loot. So I'm going to teleport back to town, sell all that loot, and then go through the next dungeon. Now here's just a real quick look at the quality of loot. You can see we've got Sacred, Sacred, Blue Sacred, Sacred, Ancestral, 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 Legendary, Sacred, 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 Ancestral, Sacred, Sacred, Ancestral, Ancestral, and Ancestral. And that's actually an 812 ring right there. So it does have the potential to drop over 800 item power, as well as the Ancestral legendaries. And I've even got unique items out of that dungeon. But it's really easy to rack up the cash if you're just going in there to loot it for money. It's really easy to rack up the cash or the crafting resources if you want to scrap them down for crafting resources instead. Okay, so up to the Bear Tribe waypoint, it's up here on the map. If you don't have this unlocked, there may be a guy sitting right here that you can interact with to unlock this. So you just run right up here and he is sitting in this chair. If you have an exclamation point here, that is the mission that you want to interact with. If you don't have that and you have other exclamation points in this area, do those other exclamation points and this one will unlock. Unfortunately, if you've completed this, you won't be able to do this dungeon. And I don't complete this dungeon when I run it. At the end, I just teleport out and go on about different business so that this particular dungeon is always available for me to run. And this one's really simple too. It's just a circle in the first area, and then it's a long haul, really. It does have some circles in it, but for the most part, it's a long haul all the way back around. And you'll see I don't do a whole lot of looting until I get into an area where there is good things to loot, really. That's what it comes down to. So if it's not a bunch of elites, I'm just not going to stop for the loot. I will run this lower half here just to make sure that I killed everybody and there's no elites hiding around. I like to pick up as much of the gold as I possibly can as well before moving on. So there we go. We've done that first circle. Now we're going to head up this direction. And this is where it gets pretty linear. You're going to hop down here. And I will show you guys exactly where you want to stop. You don't want to go any further once you get to that point. We do have some elites here. We'll see if we can drag them all together. We did. And wait for the ever-killing ground effects to go away. What are you guys doing? You should have just been in the pile when I killed them before. But you can see just quite a bit of loot there. Again, it's real linear. What you don't want to do is go through this door and finish the mission. So as long as you don't go through that door, you don't finish the mission, you're perfectly fine to farm all of the rest of this. So we'll just run up here. We'll send a spear back that way. We're getting a little bit shorted on loot so far through this, but that is just the RNG of it. So sometimes you're going to come through here, have really good loot experiences, and sometimes you're not going to have as good of loot experiences. Looks like we may have some elites back behind us. We will make the circle back, so don't worry about that. This guy is who you want to kill, and you want to pick up that bloodstone to finish this mission. But since we're not going to finish it, not a big deal. Looks like these guys followed me. Yeah. Okay, so you can see the map there. We just have this lower half, the lower circle to do. And we'll grab this loot. Go ahead and shoot you guys one. And here we go. This is what we were looking for. Another group of elites there. Sometimes there's more, sometimes there's less. But there we go. Check down here. Okay, here's quite a few more, I think. I don't know what that corpse tendril was doing way down there. That was bad shot on that corpse tendril. But yeah, so that's the full thing. Oh no, there's actually a little bit more. There's a little bit more I missed right down here. Hopefully we can find, yeah, even more elites. Okay. And there you go. So just explore it to your heart's content. Just know that if you go through the door and you interact with the boss that's behind this door, you are going to essentially close this dungeon to yourself, so you won't ever be able to run it again. And quick run through the loot on that. You can see I wouldn't have had enough room to do both of them back to back. This one brings in a little bit less, but the nice thing is that now that I've run that other dungeon, I can go straight back to Ironhold and run that one again. So that makes an easy farming loop for quite a bit of different items to drop. And you can see a lot of this stuff is ancestral level gear. There's a few sacreds in there. But if you're looking for that perfect roll on something, or you're just looking for some extra money like I am to get that perfect affix, this is a great way to run through and get just a bunch of loot without having the stress of going up against higher level dungeons in order to see more elites. I'd like to thank all my YouTube members for your continued support. Y'all are absolute legends. If you'd like to become a legend, there's a button that says join on this page. Click that for details. There's 2 videos on the screen. Click one of those to watch next, and I'll meet you over there.